Hello and welcome back. I wanted to talk about some of the general materials that beginners will be using as they learn to knit. The first thing that you'll need, first two things, are knitting needles and yarn. So let's talk about some knitting needles. They come in all shapes and sizes. So we've got these big giant needles type of thing. These are 25 millimeter needles and they're US 50. So you'll usually see those two numbers and they just tell you the size of the needles. So that's 25 millimeters. That's the size of the needles. But also US size 50, that's just an indicator of this specific needle. So those are for giant projects and you can really do some fun things with the big ones. And then you can go all the way down to some really tiny needles. These are only 2 millimeters. So this is for like really thin yarn. This is some nice thin yarn. And a project that will fit along these needles. There's also smaller needles that you can get. These are 10 millimeters, US size 50. I got these at a charity shop and it's really fun to go into charity shops and see what they have. And these are 5.5 millimeter needles. These are great for children. Most needles that you will find are straight needles like this, and these are 7 millimeter needles. So this is more for a bulkier weight. And then there's, some really cute needles. And then I want to talk about double pointed needles. So these are called double pointed needles. And what these are generally used for is if you're knitting in the round, but your circular needle is too big. So if you're knitting socks and it's really small, like the toe of the sock, then you would take 3 or 4 needles like that, and you can make a circle with that and then knit with your 4th or your 5th needle. I like double pointed needles for really tiny projects. I like needles that will fit in my hand. So I started, like most people do start, with straight needles, and these are really long straight needles. I actually, when I was a child, I started with double pointed needles for my little hands, and then I went up to the straight needles. So that was my progression there. And then I got into circular needles. Now, I love circular needles for everything now, even if I'm doing straight knitting, so that's just a flat piece of knitting. I like circular needles. They just fit in my hand nicely. And if I'm going to lose something, I'm only losing one. And then I don't know the size of these, and they're not written anywhere. So you can get anywhere that sells knitting stuff. You can get these little measurement things, and these will tell you the size of the needle. So all you do is you just pop it through, and where it's nice and where it can go right through. If it doesn't go right through, that is not the size. Try the size up. And this goes through nicely. So I know that this is 8 millimeters. So I know that. And so these are metal needles. You can tell they're metal needles. Those are fine. They're a little heavier. Let's see, these are metal. Nope, these are plastic. I love plastic needles. Plastic needles are very light. They're probably my favorite needle. I can just go really quickly with them. And the metal needles, they're just a little heavier in my hand, but you might like that if that's the type of knitting that you like to do. Now there's bamboo needles, and bamboo needles are really great to use if the yarn that you're knitting with is kind of slippy yarn. It slips off everything. These needles will be quite helpful, the bamboo needles. Now these particular bamboo needles, when I first got them, it was very easy to tell the size. They had the size printed on them in ink. But then as time goes by, I can hardly read them. So this says 8 millimeters on it, so I could still see that. So 8 millimeters, if I wanted to make sure, I can just use my handy dandy thing. And here are, these are 4s. I can tell, you'll be able to tell, you know, sometimes when you can, just by looking at them, these are 5s, I can tell. So I do like circular needles, and here are, this would be a great needle to use. This is a really big needle. This is probably, this is, well, it's a 12.5. So that's good, 12.5 millimeters. This is good if you're using bulky yarn and you're making like a big, bulky, comfy sweater and you're just knitting in the round, or even you can get a lot of stitches on here rather than, like you can get a lot of stitches on these, but you're pushing your work to the end. Where this, you can just get, you can get a couple hundred stitches on this, which is a great, big, bulky, great sweater. So that's needles. And then there's, I showed you this measuring tool. It's also good to have either a sewing measuring tape around and just a couple of things to measure with. So that's that. I also like having some crochet hooks, especially small crochet hooks, because what they're good for is instead of darning, like I've got these cute little darning needles, that you can, when you're weaving in the ends, you can sew in the ends, or you could just crochet them in, and this will act like a knitting needle. Scissors, you always need scissors for your project, and I just showed you darning needles. Those are good things to have. And then there's the yarn. When I was growing up, when I first started to knit 50 years ago, pretty much everything was wool. You couldn't get acrylics. I think, like sometimes if you were pretty lucky, you can get some silk and things like that. But most of the time it was wool that you got, or even a blend of wool. Nowadays you can get all sorts. And, you know, the debate on whether synthetic is better than wool is, you can take both sides on it. Yes, synthetic fibers like acrylic, it's not natural fibers. You can get a mixture of a blend. You can get, you know, half wool, half acrylic, or half nylon and things like that, like synthetics. But the thing is, like if you're just using wool, so it's processed, it's like a protein-based wool. So protein-based means animal, and animal-based. So that's sheep, goat, like Angora goat, Angora rabbit. I guess silk is in there. They're animals. That type of thing. That's wool. You can also do plant-based. So that would be flax makes linen, or cotton. And I have some cotton here. I want to talk about that. So those are natural, but it takes a lot of natural resources to process animal fibers. There's a lot of water used and just a lot of natural resources that are being used up to make a protein-based or plant-based wool, a natural wool. Now, acrylic is synthetic. It's basically very similar to plastics. And we all know that plastics aren't good for the earth either. So you can debate which one that you rather use. I like a little bit of everything. Beginners, I always recommend acrylic, because acrylic yarn comes in all sorts of sizes and colors, and a lot of it is very soft. There's a lot of it too that's basically, that feels terrible and it looks terrible, but there are a lot of beautiful acrylics. Acrylic yarn has come a long, long way. This is one of my favorite acrylic yarns. It's made in Canada. It's made in Ontario, and I'm in Ontario, so the price is excellent for me because it doesn't have to go far. So that's another thing, is there's not a lot of travel done in this. From my home to where this is made is about 60 or 70 kilometers type of thing. So it's not very far at all. So it doesn't have to come far. So that's good. Another good thing about this particular brand. I'm not affiliated with this brand. I just love it. So this is the Bernat Softy Chunky yarn. Now, so there's this type of yarn that we've got, and then here is a blend. So this is acrylic and mohair. This is very pretty. I made a really nice shawl out of this using very small needles, and that was beautiful. And then I want to talk about cotton. Cotton, again, for gnats, because it's close to where I live. And cotton is not stretchy at all, but it washes pretty well, and it's great for children's projects. So bibs or little blankets, things like that, because you can just throw it in the wash. It's cotton, it's natural, and this is 100% cotton, and it's it's very well priced. So anywhere that you go, so cotton is very good too. Now, when you're a beginner, a lot of things that I hear from a beginner, or one of the biggest things, is, okay, I'm really sick of just knitting squares or rectangles. I'm going back and forth, and there's only so many scarves or blankets that I want to make. So for something a little different, you can use a multicolored yarn. So there's gradient yarn, so that is basically the same type of color. It starts from darker, then goes into like a medium dark, then a medium, then medium light, and light, and sometimes it just fades into white, and it repeats itself, and it's beautiful. So if you're just making a lot of squares and rectangles at the beginning, don't worry about it. You can use some really nice different gradient yarn, or this type of thing. Oh, this is washable wool. This is great. What is this made of? Oh, it's 75% wool and 25% nylon. So that's kind of nice. That would make some nice socks. That'd be warm socks. So that is a nice alternative for a design factor, is instead of using just one color, or just, you're doing a few rows and then change color a few rows, you can use these these indie dyed, or even you can get them from large companies, and they're just beautiful. You can combine these two. I have a pattern where I use this type of yarn, and then I also use a solid color, and I do this wave thing with the multicolored yarn. So that's something that you can do as well. Okay, so I've got the needles and scissors and rulers and crochet hooks and darning needles here. We've talked a little bit about yarn. A couple of other things that I like to talk about is, it's always nice to keep a little jar of embellishments, especially for like sweaters or shawls, or even headbands, hats, anything that you're going to make to wear. You can keep, everybody's got a few buttons that, it's a really pretty button and I don't know what to do with it. Well, don't throw it out, just keep it, because you'll be able to use it to embellish your knitwear. So there's a bunch of just, a lost earring. I lost one earring, so I kept the other one, and it's very pretty. Or broken costume jewelry from Nana, things like that. And you can keep these things and you can use them. I'll show you an example. I made this. This is one of the beginner projects that we're doing. And I put buttons on it. And it just goes over the cup. And because the cup has a handle, you can just tie it off. Or you can put buttons or an earring, or just use your imagination on what you can do there. So that's just the materials that you can use as a beginner. And I'm going to tell you in the next lesson the items that we're going to use for the 3 beginner projects. See you in the next lesson.